Hello, my name is Adrian, and this is my podcast about the Crucible by Arthur Miller, and it is for the subject of movements of theater in English, and where I did a review about the play. The play The Crucible by Arthur Miller was composed in the early 50s, when the word's context was the fear of the communism. With the tensions rising after the Second World War, United States and Soviet Union tried to convince what nation and government form was better, capitalism or communism. And it inspired in him a sense to write a play about the injustice in Salem, a story that could dialogue the past and present of the United States. Making a comparison with the real facts in the story that's involved in the play, we can see how Arthur Miller created complex characters by the real people involved. He took the scenario and imagined the process that might occur in the time, the conventions and manners, the discussions, judgments of moral, conflicts between neighbors, marriage problems, favoritisms and privileges, gossip, and doubt about your fellows in the same community. We initiate the play by understanding each character, their ambitions, fears, and also why they do what they do, even if it was wrong and unjustifiable. We can analyze their motives because the development of the characters is impeccable. The evidence of this is when the narrator stops the plot to give us more information about some characters very relevant. I can see that these characters are important because each one of them mentioned were allegories for the questions treated along the play. Some characters are more good and some characters are more evil, but they are not designed this way because the features between good and evil are not clear. One person can be good and bad at the same time, as we see in the story. Reverend Perry starts being a quiet and discreet person, and further ahead we see him more bold in the trials, trying, using wrong ways to not have his status tarnished by the events with his daughter, or not letting the judges accuse Abigail. John Proctor and his wife seem to be sensible people since the beginning, although they do wrong things too, like the relation between John and Abby, and his spouse and family losing hesitation because of that. The girls were intertwined by the good and evil even more. We do not know their motivations, and all of them might be formed by the two ways, being influenced by the grown people too. The one I could perceive that had a bigger motive was Abigail, who used this collective panic to accuse Elizabeth Proctor, feeding jealousy and illusion in itself. The women and people accused, always identified by contaminated by the devil, they seemed like the best people in history, even if they were judged as bad. What makes us see how we as society could mistake the good and the evil very easily. It was a magnificent book because it says about the powers of the human race and its motivations for actions that we don't always understand. And I can elucidate three things that prove it, at least in my opinion. The very first is remembering the paragraphs above that in this pauses for the narrator speaks the reflections. They are so real about the good and evil and how they have a fine line which distinguishes them. The second thing is that I discovered that Arthur Miller's daughter is called Rebecca, and I can only imagine if he put this name on his daughter because of the character Rebecca, one of the supposed wishes, and in my opinion too, one of more wronged. And at last but not least, the Crucible, the name of the play, it's meaning a container that can withstand high heat and is used for melting metal. where it passes a severe test and its strengths and weaknesses are revealed and impurities in the metal are identified and removed. Again, we can obviously see a metaphor about everything that happened in Salem, where people passed the severe test, where everything considered impurity by the judges, by the society, were removed, and where their strengths and weaknesses were proved. And I can see that history repeats itself, and so much of the moment of the world today we can see in the past. And that's it. Thank you for listening me,